Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today. It's been a very big week for Bethesda to say the least. We've had a lot of coverage on Bethesda, Fallout. Today we talk about the mysterious Starfield and what exactly this game is. And we have plenty of more conversations to have for the rest of this week. So I hope you guys are cozy. I hope you're looking forward to some of those talks. Today we focus entirely on Starfield because there's no way I'm gonna let Todd Howard step in, say something about the game, and not investigate it ever so thoroughly. And I'm glad I actually did this time because I came up with a lot of new information that I think will excite you guys, that I think will make it a little more plausible that this game is coming out in 2021. So we're gonna be talking about not only the engine overhaul that Todd Howard had mentioned, but also the potential of timed exclusive, trying to record a video, timed exclusivity that was mentioned just a couple of days ago. So there's a lot to sift through here. Let's start off with Todd Howard's comments over on Bethesda.net in regards to the Microsoft acquisition. With each new console cycle, we evolve together, from bringing mods to consoles with Fallout 4, now over 1 billion downloads, to the latest technologies fueling Xbox Series X/S. These new systems are optimized for the vast worlds we love to create, with generational leaps not just in graphics, but CPU and data streaming as well. It has led to our largest engine overhaul since Oblivion, with all new technologies powering our first new IP in 25 years, Starfield, as well as the Elder Scrolls 6. So first I want to provide some perspective. What changed from Morrowind, Bethesda's biggest game that really saved their company, heading into Oblivion on the Xbox 360? Well, first and foremost was procedural generation. Bethesda procedurally generated the terrain as well as the dungeons within Oblivion to help create a bigger, more realistic world without stressing their workforce. Now, some people aren't familiar with this, but Bethesda Game Studios used to be a team of about 100 people, and that was insane because they made games like Skyrim with 100 people. It's just mind-blowing, and it's why people were so accepting of their bugs for a very long time, because they were really pushing the limits despite their size. As they expanded and those problems continued, it became a lot more frustrating. But procedural generation was one step forward in making their world bigger, more believable, and then adding in handcrafted content on top of those generated terrains and dungeons. Furthermore, were improved facial animations that you see in conversations, physics, which is something that's huge to Elder Scrolls now. I'm talking about the cheese wheels in, say, Skyrim rolling down a big hill. Of course, for a generation-defining title, graphics are very important, specular mapping in particular when it came to Oblivion, such as the sun reflecting off a pool of water. Furthermore, it was the lighting peering through trees. Oblivion looked quite good for its time, given its scope, scale. It was revolutionary on so many levels. Bethesda Game Studios was really hitting their stride, producing some of the biggest, best RPGs. So these are just some of the changes that happened with an engine overhaul leading into Oblivion. So when you do look at Morrowind and then you look at Oblivion, that's a significant shift in how it plays, how it feels. Like, combat isn't entirely based on skills, but in fact, like when you swing your sword and you connect with someone, it doesn't stat check you, it literally connects and does damage. Bethesda wanted to make it a little more accessible. So with something like Starfield, what could change there? I imagine the gunplay, of course, needs to continue to improve, especially if you have id as a sister company. I think on top of that, flying your spaceship around, I think that's safe speculation that Bethesda's looking into some type of vehicular combat or space travel of some kind. It'd be really interesting if there was no loading screens as you went from planet to planet in Starfield. I could totally see something like that happening. So just to take the technical aspect and sort of put it into perspective with what happened in the leap from Morrowind to Oblivion, we're gonna see something similar like that heading into Starfield. So the expectations should be high. And truth be told, we've already seen a little bit of this when it came to the Elder Scrolls 6. Bethesda posted a video called celebrating the 25th anniversary of Elder Scrolls, and in that video we saw some of their scanning technology that was going to create much better graphics, of course for the Elder Scrolls 6, but this same technology will be used for Starfield, as Todd Howard did mention. So do expect Starfield to look better graphically. I'd say look for it to have some new systems in place, and I genuinely think we should expect, that doesn't mean it's going to happen, but we should expect Bethesda to push things forward with Starfield. I think they are indeed responding to the competition out there. I've been told by just one particular source that they have expanded their engine team exponentially. Now, I went to the Wayback Machine here over on the internet to check some of their former job listings, and they were loaded up with things like Senior Core Tech Engineer, which was used for, of course, expanding their core engine technology. There were jobs for engine/system programmers in Montreal, Senior Core Tech Engineers, so on and so forth. Apparently, Starfield is a all hands on deck project, right? I'm not one to always talk information from sources because I don't want to put it out there, but I know some people are looking for some type of information, and when one source that I do trust contacted me and kind of just let me that bit of info, I think it did make the whole Starfield engine overhaul scheme a little bit more believable and something that you could, I'd say, get slightly excited about, right? Not like, oh my god, it's going to change the game, right? Because it's still the creation engine at the end of the day. There still are some hiccups with that engine, but it's good to know that Bethesda's taking it seriously. That's what that information told me. Bethesda's taking it seriously. It's reciprocated by the job listings. We can see a big change between Morrowind and Oblivion to put into perspective, and we even saw a snippet of that in the Elder Scrolls 6 video. So there is a little bit to go off of there, which is why I think what Todd Howard said meant a lot more than what people had really anticipated. Because for a lot of folks, and understandably so, it was just words on paper, and I'm sure it's the most Starfield info we're gonna get throughout 2020, outside of Pete Hines just saying, there is no update. We're not talking about it for a while. But I think this game is coming in 2021, and I'm gonna get into exactly why that's the case. Now, Todd Howard did a bit of an interview alongside Pete Hines, Major Nelson, Phil Spencer, and it was actually a really good chat. I'll have it linked in the description down below. You can tell all of them are pretty happy with the outcome here between Microsoft and Xbox. But of course, Todd Howard being Todd Howard, when he was asked about Starfield, he had something interesting to say that just, caught my attention. So let's take a listen.
Well, people at Microsoft, some of us see some stuff. I will say that it's a really exciting project that we've been doing for a long time. And once we got on the new systems, the things we found we could do. And so it's a major engine rewrite on that game. And people who know me, I like to wait as long as possible to show stuff. So we're closer to showing it than we were in the beginning of this conversation. And we'll see when. But I think it's going to be something really, really special. And we're excited to work with Xbox on that.
So Todd does reiterate that there is an overhaul to the engine that we already knew, that we already covered, but his additional statement of once we got on the new systems, the things we found out we could do, and he kind of quickly cuts himself off before he goes on any further. All this does is makes me wonder if Starfield will actually be on last-gen consoles in 2021. Will it be on the PS4? Will it be on the Xbox One? Or will it be next-gen exclusive? Bethesda is at their best when they're trying to push the technology. For example, Bethesda did not try to put Oblivion on older consoles. I've already co-signed to the school of thought that Bethesda is going to make Starfield next-gen exclusive. I feel this adds more fuel to that fire, but that's just my interpretation of the little quote here. Imran Khan, who formerly worked at Game Informer and is now working with Kinda Funny, tweeted the following: "The timing on this announcement is absolutely fascinating. The week after Sony solidifies their existing exclusivity with some Bethesda games, but the day before Xbox opens up pre-orders. Fun note, Sony had been negotiating timed exclusivity on Starfield as recently as a few months ago. Going to guess either those talks are done or the price went way up suddenly." Now, I had actually heard this as well. It was from a different source, and I could not verify it from multiple other ones, so I didn't want to say anything personally, but seeing that Imran Khan, who, once again, formerly of Game Informer, pretty reputable press site, I would buy into that, especially now that I've heard that same thing. And so now, let's talk about exclusivity in general. Is Bethesda going to pursue this avenue with Starfield? Well, if they were already shopping around Starfield to PlayStation, which we now can see they were in bed with PlayStation to some extent when it came to Ghostwire Tokyo, when it came to Deathloop, those are already timed console exclusives, and Microsoft will be honoring those deals. So with that in mind, will Starfield now be exclusive, at least for a timed period, to Xbox? it really depends on what Phil Spencer wants to have Xbox identify as. Do they want to be the company of goodwill, who really opens up the door saying we own these companies, but everyone can play these games? Or do they want to sort of replicate what Sony did after years and years of hearing how Xbox has no exclusives, make a $7.5 billion investment in a family of incredible studios that have all made excellent games at one point or another, and saying, these are on our consoles now? Quite truthfully, I think it's going to be sort of what we've seen from the Xbox Game Studios, which, by the way, Phil Spencer never referred to Bethesda as one of those. So I think Bethesda's still going to be operating independently. But I think what's going to happen is, for at least a set period of time, you're going to see, say, Starfield on Xbox, PC, as well as maybe your phones if you want to stream it through xCloud. It will be a day one Game Pass acquisition, which... what is happening? I thought I hit stop. It will be a day one Game Pass acquisition, which I think is insane value for people right off the bat. I think that'll change the approach in critique for a lot of these games, because for me, I review my games off of price, right? Whether it's $40, $60, is it on Game Pass? And I try to consider all those for reviews. So for Bethesda, if they have like a solid title, but it's on Game Pass, it becomes a little bit easier to buy into, because you could say, hey, buy Game Pass for a month, 10 bucks, you're in, try Starfield out, and then move on. So point being, though, is when it comes to exclusivity, if Bethesda's already trying to shop it around, it does mean they have some type of build that's worth showing off, which I think we were all already aware of. And I would think this indicates a 2021 release. I am still confident that 2020 would have been the release window for Starfield if obviously this whole year didn't get thrown out the window. But obviously things change, development cycles change, everyone's working from home now. And so as we adjust to this new type of normal, I think obviously things have been pushed back. It's a brand new IP. They can't rush it. They can't absolutely shove this thing out. They need to get it right. So I think fall 2021 makes sense. But given the fact that Bethesda was already shopping exclusivity for this game well beforehand, by the way, and the fact that it was a Bethesda Game Studios IP, I mean, guys, that says so much, man. Like, I thought it was crazy that they did it for 2 new IPs, and the fact that they were doing for a 3rd new IP from Bethesda Game Studios, I strongly believe that Starfield will be exclusive on the Xbox/PC family for at least a limited time. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I leave it in your hands. What do you think about this information here between the engine overhaul that Todd Howard talked about, some of the information I presented in today's video, as well as the potential for exclusivity for Starfield? We're getting ever so closely, and now that Bethesda's in the Xbox family, I wonder if, like, do we have to wait for Bethesda's E3 to hear about anything? Will now Bethesda be present at these Xbox fan events that they usually hold inside Xbox? Xbox is big on the Game Awards. Do we see something from Bethesda at the Game Awards now? Which, you know, we have in the past, of course, but I'm talking on a more significant level, like a Starfield reveal. Is that something that actually happens now? I mean, given that, like I said, I predicted that this game was coming out in 2020, and if that idea could have held true, then maybe it's ready for a reveal at the end of 2020, but I can't fathom like it not being Todd Howard center stage presenting his game for a half hour. So it'll be interesting to see how things develop, how Bethesda operates underneath Microsoft, because now they're not just a private company operating on their own. They have to answer to someone. So it'll take time to see how everything changes for them. But anyway, I leave it in your hands. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons and members who continue to support the heck out of this content. Appreciate each and every single one of you guys, and I'll talk with you soon. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.